we're going to be looking at how to work with dates in our database. We'll be looking at date functions in Postgres. So let's proceed. Now, at the end of this video, we would have learned how to manipulate date functions in Postgres. We will learn how to get the current date and the date as of today. We'll learn how to get the interval between dates, how to calculate a certain time period, and we'll also learn how to extract certain time periods from a date value. So let's jump right into date functions. So some things are important to note when we are using date functions, or when we are storing date functions into Postgres. And it's that Postgres ideally stores date functions in the year, month, and date format. So year first, month next, and date. That's 2022, 12, 25. That's how Christmas will be stored in Postgres SQL. So we have an employee. We are going to create an employee table, right? And I have kept the code here. I've created it myself, but the code is on this particular slide. You can pause. Feel free to pause and type out the code. I've made it easy for us to type out the code and run it, right? That would just help us remember how to create tables using the SQL code. So we would also create this in a new database. It's better to just give the database a name, right? And create a new database just so everything is orderly in your pgadmin. So we are in pgadmin now, and like I said, I've created my table, and let's just inspect that table. So we'll say select star from employees, and that's the name of the table I created, right? Or the table we created, right? So if you run that, and this is what we have, right? We have the employee ID, we have first name, last name, birth date, and hire date. So that's what we have in our table. Now, the first thing I would like to show us is how to get the current date, right? So getting the current date. So getting current date, right? And how do we do that? Syntax is quite simple. It's select, right? And you just specify you want to select now, right? And then you don't just stop there. What you want is now, and then 2 columns and dates. Specify that you want the date. And if I run this, right, I can see that the current date is 27th of December 2022, right? So that's the current date, and I think this works for time as well. Let's try that. Time, and if I run this, I can see the time is currently 9:48. So it's going to give me without time zone. So this is 9:48, around 9:48. And what if I want for timestamps? So I can do timestamps as well. But it's timestamp TZ, which means with time zone, right? So I think this should work. Yeah, and for timestamps gives me dates, the time up to the millisecond that I entered that code. So I have the date, time up to the millisecond. Right, so it's 9:48, 32 seconds, 0.379, etc., etc. Right, so that's how to get the current date between the current dates in pgadmin. So you can get the current date, the current time, etc. Now, remember we said pgadmin always stores dates in a particular format, and it's usually in the YYYY, month, then day format. So year, month, and day format. But what if you want to output a selected date to a certain format, right? How do we do that? So let's put it here. This is all in the slide with the codes in case you need to revisit. So how do we output selected dates to another format? And it's really simple. So what we do is select, right, and to char, to character, or to char, meaning we want to change the format of whatever it is we pass into that to char to a certain format. So to char is a function, right? And we would pass in, what do we want in that? What do we want to change? We want to change the current date, right, to a certain format. So I want to change current date. Now, how do I get current date? Current date is now, right? And I just want the dates. Right? Current date is now, and dates. And this is what I want to change. This is what I want to change. The date I want to change. And what format do I want to change it to? I want to change it to date month here. So change it to DD YYYY. So date month here instead of year, month, date, right? And let's try this out. Highlight. You can see I have it now in date month here. I could also do it and make it like this, date month and year. It shows in that format, right? So I could also get the interval between two dates, and for that I would use our table, our employees table. So let's say getting intervals between two dates, right? And remember what's in our employees table. We have employee ID, first name, last name, birth date, hire date. Now, what if I want to see, I have the hire date now, and what if I want to see how long they have been working in my organization, right? So if I want to do that mathematically, it will be today's date minus the date they started working, right? That will give me the duration of time they've been working in my company. And that's one way to get the interval. So I could say select from employees, right? What do I want to select from employees? I want to select, let's see, I want to select their first name, first underscore name, their last name. I'm going to select their hire dates. Okay? And I want to see how long they've been working in my organization. So what I have to do is say now, right? Now, that's today, minus the hire date. So minus, it's just mathematical, right? So yeah, I want my keywords in capital. So it's now, it's going to be now, right? The current date minus the hire date, the date they were hired, which is a field, hire date. And I'm just going to call that duration. And I'm going to run this. So we can see that this gives us the duration of time they've been working up to the millisecond that they've been working at our organization, right? And we could also use this to check for age as well. So if I say now, current date now minus, I have birth date, right? I have birth date minus the birth date. I could call that age. age, right? And let's run this as well. So I can see their age in days, hours, minutes, seconds, and milliseconds, right? But in the next video, we're going to be looking at other functions that we can use to calculate this in much more relatable time periods, in years, days, and months, etc. So stay tuned and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.